guys, welcome to another episode of the Planeswalkers Pub, the show that would like to remind you to please not feed your mogwai after midnight. However, due to the new Furry Friends for Life fund, you may now get them wet. I'm your host, Aaron.
Howdy, it's Eric. Today we're going to be talking about the Tribal Archetype. But first, we have to introduce our special guest, Justin.
I'm not special. I'm Justin. Hello. What's up, guys? How's it going? I'm a redheaded guy, and I'm here against my will. Please save me.
Ignore his pleas for help. So RJ is out, so we decided to grab, not literally, or maybe literally, you don't know, our friend Justin. And, just slightly put a microphone in front of him. It's okay. He's safe. But anyway, let's talk about our signature card.
Yes, every episode of the Planeswalkers Pub will feature its signature card that may or may not relate to the episode's topic.
Today's signature card is Zombie Trailblazer. Zombie Trailblazer costs a black for a 2/2 zombie creature. I can't do it. Tap and untap zombie you control. Target land becomes a swamp until end of turn. Or tap and untap zombie you control. Target creature gains swamp walk until end of turn. So normally this is the part where I say this card's dope. This card's actually really, really good. Just giving something swamp walk. People, for those of you that don't actually know, what swamp walk means is if a creature actually has it and you own a swamp, you physically cannot block that creature. It just literally walks over and punches you in the face.
Yeah, which is probably why they shifted out land walk, because it was a mechanic that you couldn't stop.
Yeah, and unlike most land walk things, this gives it to any creature. Most of the land walk creatures in general are kind of tiny and shitty, realistically. They're like 1/1s, 2/2s. Like, yeah, you get in for like 2 or 3 damage, but we were at 40 life. That's going to take a bit. Versus this, you can give it to like the Ur-Dragon. Oh god, you can give that to the Ur-Dragon.
Yes, you can. Any Air Dragon. It can't just be yours.
Yeah.
This is on a creature, and Zombie Tribal is already pretty strong. I could see this being pretty political in a more semi-casual game.
Yeah, and even still, like, it works better because it's most of the time when you've got a creature that has like Island Walk or Swamp Walk or whatever, the downside is if you're versing the deck that doesn't have that. Like, for instance, my creature has Swamp Walk, but you're playing Niv Mizzet. You clearly don't have swamps, so I need to find my Urborg in order to actually do that. Versus this, it's like, cool, tap one zombie. That island's now a swamp. Tap another zombie. This zombie has Island or Swamp Walk. Attack you.
Yeah, and chances are zombies churn out zombie tokens like nothing. So you'll probably have a few guys just standing around waiting to be tapped by this guy. And it's not an actual tap ability.
Honestly, I would tap him because I would rather attack with tokens with the fodder, because you're black. Most likely they're going to die and you don't care.
Yeah, that's the cool thing about it, too, because it doesn't say another. A lot of the stuff that says tap or whatever, you have to do, like, another target or whatever. This, you can just, like, hey, I tap him, that's now a swamp. I tap another guy that just showed up, this now has Swamp Walk. You can give it to multiple different creatures.
I'm also glad that you don't have to give a specific zombie Swamp Walk.
Yeah, it can just be any creature.
Yeah.
Like, if you've got Urborg on the field, which you're in black, you're probably going to have, then you can just say, hey, you've got a couple of creatures over there. You want to just smack him in the face real quick?
I can't kill him, but you have a 21-point commander I don't want to take. If I give him Swamp Walk, can you please not kill me this turn?
And then you give him Swamp Walk, and then they swing over to you because you're the one with Urborg, and you're just like, oh.
No, first you wait for them to declare attack. They attack an opponent. You then in response give them...
Yeah, basically.
Yeah,
you make sure.
You make sure.
All right, so moving on to today's actual topic. So today we're actually going to be talking, or going back to the Archetype series. Beforehand, we talked about Voltron, which is great, and something that kind of came out of nowhere, but me and Eric love it so much, it doesn't really matter. Now we're actually talking about Tribal. And originally, this idea came up because of Janice, whose name I actually got correctly this time.
I'm shocked on the first go, no less. This was not edited, guys.
The point is she actually brought up, hey, why don't you actually do or talk about tribals? So it's what we decided to do. We snagged her boyfriend / husband / guy that she happens to be interacting with on a daily basis.
Telling everyone my secrets.
It's fine. Everything's fine.
I'm already red, so no.
So basically a random person we know just shouted out an idea, and we're like, yeah, let's go with that.
I mean, when does that change from anything else we've ever done?
That's every week.
You've got a point.
It is every
You gotta do
week.
this every week. I mean...
Well, first off, what exactly is Tribal?
Well, Tribal is a strategy where the main focus is to put a bunch of cards, usually creatures, together that share the same subtype, like elves, goblins, zombies.
Which ironically goes into our next segment of the most popular tribes.
Elves,
Slivers.
goblins, zombies, slivers, dragons,
Vampires. There it is. I'm like, what the fuck are we missing? One of the bigger ones.
merfolk.
Shapeshifters.
Yeah, but that goes
Scarecrows.
Scarecrows.
I don't know if scarecrows are popular.
Scarecrows are popular.
Have you seen the
Reaper
Commander?
King is popular.
Exactly.
Yeah, he
His-
runs
the
scarecrows.
rest of them are.
And then you
eh.
run changelings in a scarecrow deck, and everyone cries.
You do.
Yeah.
Because the Reaper King just destroys all your permanents, even lands.
That's a technicality.
So, although you actually might be running not the most popular one, you can still run any tribe, basically. Well, that's a lie. You can run mostly any tribe, because, Goat Tribal doesn't technically exist. Oh, bears. We forgot about bears.
Oh, yeah, we
How
did
do we forget
forget
about bears?
I don't know how we forgot
They're
about
unbearable.
bears.
They made
But
bear
they have the
jokes.
right to bear arms.
For fuck's
Oh,
sake.
it's Grizzly now.
For fuck's sake. Gods, avatars, technically, I guess, Legend Tribal with Sisay. You can technically classify as a tribal deck. But the real way that you know someone's running a tribal deck is based off of the tribal leaders that they physically have. For instance, you can run a goblin deck, and there's a bunch of goblins that you can run as the general, but let's get real, it's Kranko.
Krenko. More specifically, Mob Boss. Well, I think
10th Street.
10 Street Kingpin is alright. I don't think he's good enough to helm a deck of his own.
I mean, the problem with the 10th Street ones is that he has to attack.
Yeah. And Mob Boss, you just tap.
Yeah. Moving away from the goblins, so you actually have a sliver deck. What's the leader for that one? Because there's like 3 of them, I think.
4, I think. Overlord, Queen, first, and Hive Lord. Hive Lord, Overlord, Queen, and first.
Hive Lord doesn't do enough.
Is Hydler Legend?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
But I think Hive Lord is the one that makes everything indestructible, basically. It makes
Yeah.
them all indestructible, which is nice, but you'd rather pull slivers
Yeah,
out.
I know, but Hive Lord is the lead. No. Well, Hive Lord and the first are the 2 least expensive sliver leaders. So, I mean,
Yeah.
it's something to consider.
I still don't have a queen for my deck, but I run a Sliver Overlord because I just like that 3 search.
Yeah.
And I search for the first sliver, and I do Cascade.
You just do horrible things to
And I just
people.
keep cascading. It's not infinite, but it's efficient.
You might as well be.
So what does Overlord actually do?
So Sliver Overlord is a 5-drop commander, 1 of each color. And you pay 3, search the library for a sliver, and you reveal it and put it into your hand. You can pay also 3 and gain control of target sliver. So the nice thing about that is you can do it at the end of someone's turn, you can do it in response, and if you're playing a proper slivers deck, all slivers give you mana at some point. So that gets...
Yeah, because you don't even have to tap it, do you?
The Birds of Paradise sliver, which
Yeah.
there are 2 of. Gemhide and I don't know what the other one's called.
Mana Flow?
Mana
I
Flow,
think.
yeah.
Another bunch of other tribal leaders, for the most part, are obviously Edgar Markov, who is basically the leader of the vampires.
Yeah. Dethroned Olivia Vondaran as the de facto tribal vampire leader.
I mean, she was really good because she could, for 1 mana or something, you can actually ping another creature, and then that creature becomes a vampire. Then she could pay another mana or tap something in order to gain control of the vampire. So it was really cool. But then Edgar Markov comes out and he's just like, "Hey, I'm in your command zone. Okay, that's nice. Play a vampire. Sure. Here's a free token."
Yeah. And also have a 3rd color. Instead of Rakdos, it's now Mardu.
Yeah, which means that you've got access to swords, path, control, mostly.
Land
Like,
tax.
Just
land
control.
tax. It's dumb.
And of course, there's the ever so famous elves with Izori Renegade Leader.
Yeah.
You can pay green to tap or generate target elf, or pay 5, 3 and 2 green to give all elves +3/+3 and trample. Definitely
Hey,
one
keep
of them.
on doing it.
Yep.
Because that doesn't have to tap either.
It's just a value engine. What's wrong with that?
It is.
I don't know. There's got to be something. I'm pretty sure I can't think of it. Oh, that's right. Infinite mana in green is probably the easiest that you can get to.
That's totally not a thing.
Yeah.
Nope.
It's totally not a thing. There is technically the elemental leader, which is kind of sort of Omnath, kind of sort of not. Wasn't there another one before Omnath? There's that 5-color one that looks that you can cast elementals from your graveyard. There is also obviously Merfolks, which have
Several leaders.
Several leaders.
Dozens.
Like, it's crazy.
What flavor do you want? Do you want card draw? Do you want control? Do you want bounce?
I mean, I feel like the blue-green one is probably the most popular one because he's just tap 5 of them, draw a card, or put a bunch of... He's got so many different merfolk-related abilities, it doesn't really matter. Because there also is the white-blue SIG, River Guide or whatever, that also gives protections or does... Yeah, I think it just gives protections. It's great.
So you can do Azorius, Simic, or Mono Blue Merfolk. So you got a lot of choices.
I think that's it for the Legends.
There's zombies.
I've got one.
There's
yeah,
the Esper one.
There's a new Esper one. There's...
the Scorpion God, of course.
I was going to think Mono Black. Gisa by herself.
Mono Black. Gisa by herself?
Yeah, because she, you tap her, sacrifice a creature, then create a number of zombies equal to that creature's power.
That's not bad.
It's very good, actually.
Yeah.
So you can do Esper, Demir, or Mono.
There's also a white zombie, too. You can do white-black zombies.
You could do Orzhov zombies?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
But if you're going to go white-black, anyway, you might as well toss in the blue with the newer one from the
Varana
2018.
Vecna.
Yeah, from the 2018 set, whatever, who actually cares. Because whenever she attacks, I think it's
The
actually...
amount of zombies you attack with
it.
you gain X life and draw X cards.
Then you have to discard, which does suck, but...
I think there was one tribal group we haven't talked about that I made one point that was really fun. It was humans. It was humans and wolves.
Who was the commander?
It was Yosov Dragonclaw, a 3-drop green, blue, red commander. It's a 4/2 with trample. At the beginning of combat, you can pay 3, and if you do, you can gain control of target creature opponent controls with power less than her. And then at the end of your turn, you return to
So it's basically like an act
play.
of treason on a dude.
Right, but if you can blink her or then maybe sack at the end of turn, you can stack
Keep
effects.
Yeah.
It can be a lot of fun. It's not as powerful as like infinitely blinking, taking everything as some people like to do, but in one of your more casual games, it can come out of nowhere, and then all of a sudden people have to deal with a 16/2 commander at some point.
And then you use Ashnod's Altar to just sack what you take.
There's also technically Kithkin, which don't actually have a leader. We mentioned beforehand goats, which don't have a leader. However...
Bears do.
Yes,
Ayula,
there is bears.
Queen
with Ayula,
among bears.
which
When
is
you
just amazing.
Cast a bear, it can either fight or pump a bear.
Which is typically the game. The way the game works is cast Ayula on 2 because bears, and then turns 3, 4, and 5, provided you didn't ramp, it's pump, 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 and then fight everything from now on. It's fucking annoying, and I loved it.
Yep.
However, because I know a lot of people are probably going to mention in the comments or anything in that sense, you guys forgot about the fact that everyone technically has a tribal leader because they have Morphine. Yeah.
Morphine.
Let's talk about Morphine, because I've got some theories about Morphine. I'm not a fan of
Yeah,
him.
let me see this guy again, because I don't usually play against him, so I don't see him that often.
I do like him because, even though he's technically 5 colors, since he doesn't have an activated ability, you're not missing out on anything
There
if
it
you
is.
don't include certain colors.
You want to read it off?
Yeah. All right. So he's a 7-drop legendary creature shapeshifter. He's a changeling, and when he enters the battlefield, you choose a creature type, and then spells of that type cost 1 of each mana less to cast, and then other creatures of that type get +1/+1. Yeah, I've actually seen him as a commander for basically whatever you want to run.
Exactly.
I've even seen him as a commander for a Sliver deck.
Yeah, the thing is about that is the fact that it reduces the colored mana for your actual tribal, or your tribe at the very least, which is basically never been done before. I mean, there is the black-white guy that reduces it for clerics, like, reduces the actual colored mana itself by 2, which is kind of fucking dumb. It just makes all your Shadowborn Apostles free. But the point is, Morphine's like, hey, what color do you need off? Cool, here you go. Like, you can toss this, you can technically make a, goblin deck with Morphine. This week we're in all different colors of goblins. Because it's technically a shapeshifter, which bodes nicely into our next segments, shapeshifters have this ability, I guess it's technically like a passive, really, not really an ability, which has Changeling, which basically states that this card is every creature type. This applies everywhere.
Yeah.
So if it's in your deck, your library, out of play, whatever, on the battlefield, it is technically whatever, every single creature type. which is a good thing and a bad thing. It's a good thing because that basically means you can tutor it for whatever. It also means that changelings and shapeshifters as a whole can go into basically any tribal deck and still work. So let's say that you're like, oh, I need like 1 or 2 more goblins to make Krenko just go infinite, whatever. Cool, toss in 2 shapeshifters. They drop onto the field. Guess what? They're goblins. They're also squirrels and knights.
I had a few
dragons.
changelings in my Eula deck because as memey as bears are, they're not great.
No.
So I needed a few to fill out the ranks.
Exactly. And most changelings have cooler abilities that are like, pump it or something like that. Since there is that white changeling that pay X and then all your creatures get +X+X.
Yes.
Which is just a typical, hey, throw me in. I'm going to pump your entire team because we're all the same family. Which is ironic and hilarious. But, I mean, that's just how changelings works. My downside, going back to Morphon, is... whereas the other tribal lords, like the Ur-Dragon, for instance, like, he cares about dragons mostly by making them cheaper and stuff like that sense. Where Eula cares about bears by making them, what happens when a bear shows up. Edgar Markov cares about vampires being cast. Azuri...
He pumps elves.
Does he pump specifically elves?
Yeah, he pumps specifically elves.
Okay, because I know he's going to regenerate, which can target anything, but I didn't think about it.
No, the regenerate is target elf. Another target elf. He can regenerate himself.
Oh, well, there we go. Morphon doesn't care. Morphon's like, hey, I'm a sliver today. Tomorrow, I'm a goat. The next day, I'm a goblin. The day after that, I'm a Kifkin. And that's the problem I have with him, because a lot of people are like, oh, well, you have your tribal leader. It's Morphon. No, I don't.
Well, that's also the problem with changelings and shapeshifters in general. The less represented your tribe is, the more it just becomes shapeshifter tribal. And it's like, this is a technicality. It's not an actual what you would want.
See, I kind of disagree with that because not all tribes are strong. They have a few really fun cards, and if you want to make it work to have fun in your local play group, it's not a bad thing to do some different changelings. Because at the end of the day, you want to have fun. So is it really about always sticking to tribes, or is it about making it efficient in some way? It's always good to mix the two in my mind, because you want to have fun and you want to do a cool thing. So why not do both? Not all of these commanders that are tribal will fit in one of the more competitive groups you might be playing with.
One thing, however, that does slightly matter is the cards you actually need. Go ahead, Justin.
Door of Destiny.
There it is.
It's a 4-mana artifact. You play it, and when you play it, you declare a creature type. Whenever you cast a spell of the chosen type, put a charge counter on it. And creatures you control of the chosen type get +1/+1 for each charge counter on it.
Yep. So it's one of those things that just kind of, you play it out, it sits there. Hey, I'll cast a vampire. Awesome. Gets charge counter. All my vampires get +1/+1. I'll cast 3 more vampires. All the vampires now get +3/+3. Like, this works with goblins, this works with a bunch of other cool things. I wouldn't technically put it in a Krenko deck because he cares more about tokens than actual goblins, or casting goblins most of the time. Unless you're Rob's deck, in which case that just wins without Krenko. It's hilarious. But it's a really good card, at the very least.
So, I'm going to be controversial here. I don't like Door of Destinies.
But why?
Because this might be the spike in me talking, but I don't like cards that require other cards to do things. You play Door of Destinies. It's 4 mana.
Uh-huh.
That's a lot of mana, unless you've ramped to hell.
Is it,
so
though?
You play...
Not really.
In most games, you play Door of Destinies, and you're tapped out. Or maybe you have 1 or 2 mana left. It's great if you can use that 1 or 2 mana left to cast one of the aforementioned tribal cards to get that charge counter on it right away. But if you can't, you pay 4 mana, play it down, you sit and wait. It does nothing for you because it doesn't start with any charge counters. So any of the tribe you may already have out doesn't get any benefit from it. So you need to wait an entire table rotation until your mana untaps and you can start casting those spells in order to get that benefit. I don't like that.
So I'm with you in that sense that you kind of have to wait for it. However, Door of Destinies isn't like a Omniscience. It's not like a Leyline where it immediately just draws a bunch of attention from everyone. It kind of just sits there in the background and just does, because it does nothing, it goes under the radar of people. That's the kick.
And also, when you're playing with more competitive people, they might see that and see you've got a weaker board state, and they'll let it go by and burn a few spells on others. And then if you can survive a few turns and cast a few, say, humans, all of a sudden your 1-drop 1/1 is a 7/7, and it does a bunch of other stuff.
Plus, and
people have to deal with it.
Plus, I do also want to mention, it says cast, not enter the battlefield. So you can cast at Llanowar Elves, it gets countered. Cool, I still get the charge counter.
Yeah.
Oh, so are you mental misstepping my Llanowar Elves to establish dominance?
Yes.
Okay.
But the point is, I still get the charge counter on it. It still powers up all my other dudes. It's one of those, and also too, because it's a blanket, hey, everything gets powered up, you don't have to worry about, everything becomes immediately stronger. Like, you cast Azuri or whatever, he's now +5 because you cast a bunch of stuff beforehand or whatever, and all your stuff is +5. So all you do is now pump him one time to cause a bunch of damage versus pumping him 5 or 6 times.
That's fair.
One card, however, that I do love and that definitely needs to go into every single tribal deck if you're running it is Urza's Incubator. It's 3-mana artifact, and it says, as it enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. Let's choose Merfolk. Creature spells of the chosen type cost 2 colorless less to cast. So this is the one time I'm okay if you have Morphon, because at that point it'll cost 2 colorless as well as 1 single color less. That makes a lot of shit just free. Free.
Yeah, it definitely does. But I wouldn't play this in tribes that are already low costed. I would not play this in bears.
I would. You know why?
Why?
Free bears, and then you have an effect of whenever a creature comes into play, draw a card. And all of your stuff is,
a single green.
A single green or nothing.
I played a Herald's Horn in bears, not this. Herald's Horn they cost 1 less. And you can, during your upkeep, you can scry 1, and if it's a creature of the chosen type, you can add to your hand.
Once again, porque los dos. Why not both?
I don't know. I just think the 2 reduction is less useful if your tribe is already low to the ground in terms of CMC.
I mean, the thing is that...
and also, Urza's Incubator is $20, so,
You're not particularly wrong.
But don't also forget the point of Tribal is to have cards that work well together that are a similar type. It's not just about individual power spiky cards.
No,
it's about growing a really cool board state and doing a cool thing.
I just think it's less optimal if you don't have a whole bunch of tribe cards that can take advantage of the 2 reduction. Bears are mainly 2 drops, so I went with Herald's Horn because the 1 reduction would make most of them just the 1 green. The extra colorless from Incubator would have been superfluous. One of my more favorite tribal cards is Vanquisher's Banner, though.
Yes.
5-mana artifact, enters the battlefield, choose creature type. You're noticing a theme here.
Mm-hmm.
Creatures of you control the chosen type get +1/+1, and when you cast a creature spell of the chosen type, draw a card. Definitely like that last bit. Draw a card is always a welcome bit of text to have on a card, especially if you're playing a tribal that may not have access to good draw power. Like if you're not in blue or green, for example.
All right, so that's almost as good as Door of Destiny to me, but Door of Destiny only costs 4.
Yes, but this gives you an immediate benefit. And the +1/+1 boost, and then when you get to turn back around, everything you cast, you draw cards off.
However, you have to wait 1 whole turn with that on the board to actually use it.
Fun fact,
Not necessarily, because you still get that +1/+1 boost, so anything that's on board, when you cast it, immediately gets the benefit, and you can swing with them.
I don't know. I kind of like both. I would probably run both, realistically. I like the fact it's a static +1. I like drawing cards, which is always nice. I also like the fact it says you. We're going to talk about another card that pumps everyone's stuff in a second. But before that, I want to mention Metallic Mimic, which is 2 mana for an artifact creature. It's a 2/1. As it enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. Let's choose goats. And then Metallic Mimic is the chosen type in addition to its other types. That's important for the Shapeshifter because if there's any pump effects or anything in that sense, it'll also get that pump effect. It also counts towards, if you're running goblins, you play Metallic Mimic. It counts as a goblin, which is great.
Yeah.
Each other creature you control of the chosen type enters the battlefield with an additional +1/+1 counter on it. So I like the +1/+1 counter more than just a static 1/1 because if you've got 3 or 4 creatures that say, hey, all your other stuff gets +1/+1, and then someone kills those 3 or 4 creatures, it can turn your entire board of 20/20s into basically 10/10s in an instant. Versus the counters, they stay on it. Downside, you can only get one.
Speaking of artifacts that help out tribes, Adaptive Automaton.
There it is.
3 mana for 2/2 artifact creature construct. As it enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. He's the chosen type in addition to its other types. And other creatures you control the chosen type get +1/+1. So he is the any tribal lord you could ever want.
Yeah, which is great. He just kind of just a blanket, hey, it's a +1/+1 for everybody. So let's talk about, very quickly, a card that I personally do not recommend running inside your deck. It's going to be Coat of Arms. So it's 5 mana artifact. Each creature gets +1/+1 for each other creature on the battlefield that shares at least one creature type with it. So in theory, this seems like the perfect tribal card because it pumps on my guys. It pumps them by a lot. Like if you've got 5 goblins on the field, they'll each get +4/+4 because it basically says for each other. So you pick one goblin, and then how many others do you have outside of that one? That's how much you get pumped. The downside is the fact it also says each creature gets it for each other on the battlefield. So you be playing goblin deck, your opponent drops a single goblin, he now gets pumped for all of your goblins. That can get dangerous. Or even worse, if they happen to have just accidental synergy. Like, for instance, tokens, which typically...
Tokens are scary with that card.
Yeah, because they typically like, oh, I'm just going to make I'm a token deck. Cool, I'm making soldiers. Oh, you play that? Nice. All my soldiers now get +30/+30.
And then if you have one other person, which I had this happen to once, one person was running soldier tokens, one was saplings. Guess who died? I was running humans. It failed.
Oh.
Yeah, I can imagine.
That's another thing. Humans, like, not even as a tribe, there's always random humans in some deck or other. So, like,
Yeah.
4 people suddenly have, like, +4/+4 because they're random, like...
Just accidentally.
Yeah.
Like, and it's things that people don't realize. It. For instance, like, Eternal Witness. Although we use it mainly for its effect, she's a human. She just gets pumped by 30/+30.
Which throws me off every time because I keep thinking of her as an elf.
Yeah, she's not.
Everyone does. That's
She's not.
20 years of that. Like, why is this not an elf?
Because she looks like an elf. She's green like an elf. She's got an elfish type of ability. No, she's not.
So, we've been talking a lot about artifacts and colorless effects that help out tribals, but they put out a series of tribal cards in each of the 5 colors called the Kindred cards. The white one is Kindred Boon. 2 and 2 white for an enchantment. As it enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. 1 and a white. Put a destiny counter on target creature you control of the chosen type. Each creature you control with a divinity counter has indestructible. Kindred Charge is the red one. 4 and 2 red for a red sorcery. Choose a creature type. For each creature you control of the chosen type, create a token that's a copy of that creature. Those tokens gain haste. Exile them at the beginning of the next end step. Kindred Discovery is the blue one. 3 and 2 blue for an enchantment. As Kindred Discovery enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. Whenever a creature you control of the chosen type enters the battlefield or attacks, draw a card. Kindred Dominance, 5 and 2 black for sorcery. Choose a creature type. Destroy all creatures that aren't of the chosen type. That one's one of my favorite ones because it's a
Reverse board wipe?
reverse board wipe.
Yeah.
All your creatures are fine, everyone else's aren't. And the last one, which is probably arguably the best one, Kindred Summons. 5 and 2 green for an instant. Choose a creature type. Reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal X creature cards of the chosen type, where X is the number of creatures you control of that type. Put those cards onto the battlefield. So, yeah, you wait till the end step, the person's turn, put this out, put out all those cards of the chosen type, and you get a free turn with them all in there.
Into our next segment, you kind of want to know from the gate, we talked about this beforehand with the Johnny, Timmy, Spike mentality, link inside the doobly-doo. If you're a Timmy player, you're probably going to like tribal decks more than, let's say, a Spike or a Johnny, because Johnny's typically like combos, although can technically be some combos in it, and Spikes really don't run tribal unless you're running Eldrazi's, where it's like a big stompy, I'm punching you in the face and you're going to go down, motherfucker, type of deal.
Yeah, and another problem with tribal is it's kind of telegraphed.
Oh, it's humongous.
I've seen
It's humongously
Oh, look.
telegraphed.
I've seen countless Azori decks, and I know what they're going to do. I could probably run their deck in my sleep.
And that's the downs. That's
I
definitely
mean,
one of the huger
I don't mean to
downsides.
sound flippant. I don't mean to
You beat me there.
downplay people, but
I would say the biggest thing is don't consistently run the same deck, especially if it's tribal. Your friends will learn it. They will learn when to counter you, and you will have less fun overall.
Or more importantly, especially when it comes to elves, are probably the easiest to see. This I kill, that I kill, this I kill, because it's like anything that produces a bunch of mana, or it's like, hey, whenever an elf shows up, do this crazy thing. Goblins, I feel like, is probably the same principle, but even them, goblins just run a lot more faster.
You just want to outlive goblins and hope you're not the first one to
Yeah.
die. That's really the
And
the
board
strategy
wipes.
there.
Lots of board wipes.
I haven't seen enough Goblin decks to know. Obviously, I know Krenko is a target, but I don't know like other cards.
Have you not versed Rob's goblin
No,
deck?
I've versed it. I haven't versed it enough to memorize it, like I have Azuri. So, if I versed Goblin decks enough, I'd probably know what are the key players and all that. But
Yeah.
I just haven't had that experience yet.
But once again, because this is kind of the same, I guess, warning to everyone else, is that if you're versing a tribal deck, Urza's Incubator, anything that makes their stuff cheaper, kill it. Anything that says, like, when this tribe comes in, kill it.
Another negative, I would say, one of the harder ones is you're going to get a little depressed when you have a cool commander, a concept, and it falls flat.
Yeah.
Because you can put in some time and it never work. Tribal is you want to do a theme. And if you can't make the theme work, you keep trying to make it work. And you invest such time and energy, especially if you're a newer player who doesn't necessarily have the card base or access to funds to buy the more key cards. Or maybe those cards don't even exist yet.
Yeah.
That's even more frustrating. You keep trying.
Like
feel
the
like-
squirrel tribal that's continuously out of our reach.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, I feel like tribal. I mean, Voltron definitely cares about the commander 100%. Tribal cares about the commander probably like 80%. Just
Yeah.
because their commander usually is what makes their entire deck turn on. Like, for instance, a Merfolk deck, you have the one guy or whatever that's like, hey, tap 2 Merfolk, do this thing. Tap 5 Merfolk, do this other thing. That really worries about their commander. The point is, find a commander that you actually like. If it works, but it could be better, try out the other version of it. Like, yes, technically Sig River Guide and Sig River Cutthroat are 2 different decks. Maybe your strategy, maybe your playstyle works better with one versus the other. So don't try to force one and not the other. There is mono black zombies, there's black white zombies, and there's Esper zombies. My opinion, go Esper because you got blue, but that's just me. Maybe Esper's too much and you've got too many different options, so you might streamline it down to just straight mono black zombies.
Or Demir.
Yeah, that
And-
just works out.
One last tip I can always recommend that I don't think people take enough of. Take a break. Start something. Have a plan. Write it down. Go do something else for a bit. Come back to it.
Yeah.
It's all right. There is no time limit here, guys.
Or even better, ask your friends if they're like, if you really want to question what is going wrong with your deck. Be like, hey, Justin, can you play my deck real quick? Typically, he'll say, sure.
Oh, yeah.
Like, this way, it's kind of weird where...
Yeah, sometimes the fresh eyes can really help.
Yeah, because they're playing it, they're doing different ideas that you would naturally do. And even better, you can kind of see the opposite. Like, very rarely do we ever get to verse our own decks. So by versing our own decks, you can kind of see, okay, I've got a strategy to take out this, this, and this. If I can see the pattern of what needs to be taken out, maybe they can too. Maybe I should put in some more protection for my artifacts. Maybe I should put in this. Maybe I should take out that because that card really doesn't, it's just not good. Like, maybe it's not me, maybe it's just the deck, Figure it out. It's actually pretty easy once you think about it.
One last thing I'd say, I guess it's not really weakness. It's more of a mindset weakness, I'd say, is that tribals are not unique. If you're the type of player that wants to make a unique deck, tribals are not the way to go.
I can see where you're coming from, but I kind of disagree. Because if you've got a group of players that have been playing for a few years who don't go outside, of their normal play group, who have their own collections but don't, say, go on EDH Rec or Tapped Out or anything like that, they're not going to know Tribal until they start experimenting. If they start experimenting and they strictly build their own decks, like I know some people do, I do myself. I never go online and just go, I need to buy these 10 cards. You get some quirky things. And it's kind of refreshing because you can actually, as an opponent, expect something and then be surprised. and I enjoy that surprise. Like with your spider deck, I'd never seen it before. I didn't realize what effect your endgame had. I thought that was a really cool thing.
Yeah, you thought you were just going to kill us all by spiders. It's like, nope, I'm going to do something else. It's like, wait, what?
Yeah.
I've read it like 5 times, and it still throws me every fucking time.
Every time. So
I pay 7 mana. I deal damage equal to the amount of spiders I control. I control 20 of them.
Yeah, it's every time he does this. Every single time. I usually tell people, it's like, oh, well, I'm new to Magic, whatever. Cool. Pick a mono-colored, run a tribe. They're basically the easiest one. For the most part, slightly hard to run, but they're basically the easiest thing. But it's always nice to put your own spin on it. Maybe you're not running that particular type of deck.
I think it's all a matter of perspective. Just make sure at the end of the day you have fun.
Yeah. And speaking of the end of the day, we can move over to our other step, which is going to be last call.
Last call?
You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here.
You could have said it yourself, you know.
You know, it's 5 o'clock somewhere.
It is.
All right, so first things first, we're the realist, and we also want to thank Justin for showing up. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Great.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Totally great. We also want to thank our new subscribers. Currently, we're at like 106-ish, which is great. That's totally great. Ish. You guys are awesome. We love you guys to death. Justin, we definitely want you back on just because I like your opinions, and you're always usually contradicting our opinions, which is great. Plus, you're like a weird version between, I guess, like me and Eric in a sense of playstyle, because you're spiky, but you're also the more, I want to put on a show, and then I'm going to kill you.
Yeah, I'm not a spiky player. I don't play the competitive stuff. I'm just below that.
Yeah.
And I enjoy that because you get a mix.
He's a
of
hair's
guys.
breadth from Spike.
Yeah.
I am.
Yeah,
See,
but like,
I don't know my play style. I just do things.
You played Decree of Annihilation, my dude. Like, come on.
that's just a fun card.
Who else plays with it? It's a
Competitive
surprise.
players, or yeah.
Anyway, thank you, subscribers. Thank you, Justin. Speaking of thanking stuff, we're going to thank our friend Chris over at CM_3_ over on Twitch. He's been shouting us out. We're shouting him out. I'm not entirely sure how many subscribers or followers he actually has, but he streams Magic, streams League of Legends, streams. Currently, he's Dead by Daylight.
Oh, no.
It's fine. He's actually really decent. I'm probably going to jump onto his streams and convince him to stream Dauntless because I just downloaded it, so that could be hilarious watching us die together. It's fine. Everything's fine. Speaking of things that are fine, we want to talk about our Discord as well as our Twitter. Links of which are both inside the description box below. Inside of our Discord itself, you will gain access to, well, us for starters, just talking and whatnot. I'm going to eventually toss Justin in there by force through the computer. It's fine.
I keep forgetting.
I know you do. Also inside the Discord is a link to our basically just series, which is we're calling The Chaser, which technically isn't The Chaser, but it's fine.
You don't have to keep saying that every episode, Aaron.
I do because I'm slightly angry about it myself, but it's fine. Everything is fine.
He's contractually obligated. He must, by his own standard.
The Chaser's base is like 10 minutes of us talking about nautical nonsense. This week we're going to have Justin on talking about... And then last but not least, we want to thank our friends over at TCGplayer.com. In the description box below with everything else is our affiliate link to TCG Player. You're going to be buying cards anyway, so why not help the channel at the same time? Till then, see you guys in the next video.